Welcome to Prince Shorthand House. Exercise number 25 and 26, Sir Kailash Chandra, 140 words a minute. Ready? Start. Mr. Vice Chairman, first of all, I must place on record my grateful thanks to the University Grants Commission for the work that they have done for the advancement of higher education. They have done good work and in full cooperation with the Education Ministry. This, I think, must encourage state governments to establish university grants commissions or committees in their respective states. What the country needs most is the coordinated efforts of the autonomous university grants commissions working in harmony with the state governments and university authorities. Coordinated efforts are needed to bring about certain uniformity in the standards of university education. Without that, our educational advancement is bound to suffer from various tensions and difficulties. I do agree with my friend that the annual report under discussion is rather a dull report. At least it is not as bright as the two previous reports were. In the previous two reports, the University Grants Commission invited the attention of the nation to certain academic problems, to certain educational needs. Unfortunately, in this report, the University Grants Commission confines its remarks mostly to what has been achieved in the field of university education under the guidance and with the assistance of the University Grants Commission. However, sir, it is not possible for me to agree with Mr. Santanam that the University Grants Commission should not extend help to universities for the preservation of manuscripts. Manuscripts are of great importance so far as university libraries are concerned. It is the duty of universities to preserve those manuscripts, and it is the duty of the University Grants Commission to extend to universities the necessary financial assistance for maintaining and preserving the manuscripts in good order. Also, it is not possible for me, sir, to agree with my friend that today universities are enjoying too much of autonomy. I agree with the University Grants Commission, which 2 years ago remarked that freedom is vital for education and democracy, and I personally feel, sir, that one plea or the other university autonomy and academic freedom are being restricted rather than being extended as they must be. I do not think, sir, that a social purpose or a social value can be imparted in the teaching by a teacher through the imposition of restrictions on this freedom of thinking. I feel that teachers need academic freedom for discharging their duties in an efficient way. If we take into consideration the affiliated colleges, we will notice that the teachers are subjected to such humiliating conditions that it is not possible for them to discharge their duties to their students, to impart to their students any sense of a responsibility or any moral values in their lives. I therefore, sir, feel that it is necessary to be more careful about the preservation of academic freedom to teachers. Sir, we are grateful to the Education Ministry and to the University Grants Commission for upgrading the salaries of teachers in the central universities. Yet, a great disparity prevails in the salaries of teachers of central universities and state universities and affiliated colleges, and this disparity is causing a lot of heartburning and a lot of difficulties. As one connected with the education, I may say that there is not such a marked difference in the quality of teachers serving in the central university and in the state university and in the affiliated colleges as to justify the great disparity in the salaries of teachers of these institutions. I feel, sir, that we must keep in our mind the remarks of the University Grants Commission made in their earlier annual report with regard to teachers' salaries. We are not only to provide adequate salaries to teachers of affiliated colleges but also to teachers of secondary schools. We must remember, sir, that a great majority of students study in affiliated colleges and the quality of education is largely determined by the quality of work that is done in affiliated colleges. For improvement in the quality of teaching, improvement in living conditions is also very necessary. The University Grants Commission has invited our attention in its report to the appalling conditions to which teachers have to live, but unfortunately the University Grants Commission has to admit that it does not seem likely that we shall be able to make anything more than the marginal contribution towards the practical need. I feel that the University Grants Commission should pay more attention to the solution of this problem than has so far been paid by it and the Education Ministry, and that the government should not grudge funds to the University Grants Commission for making adequate arrangements to improving living conditions of teachers who are expected to train the citizens of the country. Sir, in the University Grants Commission report, it is maintained that rupees 1200 should be granted to every affiliated college for the welfare of the teaching staff, and the effort should be made to provide them with quarters, and that too in the vicinity of the college where they teach. Next para. Mr. Vice Chairman, I would now like to make a few observations on the Ministry of Education. Education is basic to any national regeneration. It is true that it does not bring any return as our other projects do, as for instance the steel projects or the irrigation projects do, but that this is the investment that is designed to help building up of the human material. It is agreed that education has expanded after independence and during the plan period, but it is a matter for concern that the content of education has not been equal to our expectations. Even today we are engaged in experimenting with all types of education from the basic stage up to the university level. It is not clear, I presume, that the basic pattern of education of which so much was said and written, it is accepted as a success even today. Where do we stand with regard to the basic pattern? It seems to be the position that all arguments are in favor of that type of education, but all proof is against the success of such a type of education. Where does the government stand with regard to this type of education? We swore by the basic type of education because it was discovered by the father of the nation. But if it has been a failure, why should not the government say that it is the position? Then again, take secondary education and also collegiate education. 3 years ago, I was said that all universities should have 3-year degree courses, and some universities which were reluctant to accept this reform were more or less compelled to do so, and they accepted it. Now certain universities find that this scheme is not working satisfactorily, and they feel that they should have a 2-year course in the college before students could enter the degree course. I mention this to show that this eternal tinkering with education should stop, and it should not go on like this. This uncertainty is not only with regard to the main objective of education, the main structure of education from the primary to the collegiate level, but also with regard to the courses of studies and also with regard to the language or medium of instruction. Mr. Chairman, up to the secondary stage, it has been accepted that the medium of instruction should be the regional language. The National Integration Council, however, stated that if universities are to exchange professors, if they have to develop freely, then there should be the common medium of instruction, namely English and Hindi. Now, at the latest National Integration Council meeting, we are told that the medium of instruction in the colleges should also be the regional language ultimately, and if that comes to pass, I ask, how will national integration be achieved? It is permissible to envisage a stage if the scheme of the National Integration Council is implemented, where different universities will have different media of instruction, and the man that will be drawn from these universities will have to man the judiciary of the land and the all India services, but they will not be able to serve in a state other than the one in which they were educated. How can integration be achieved. We are working at cross purposes. It is time that a high power body was appointed to hamper out a national scheme of education having integration as the basic aim and to implement it systematically. The present method of meddling at every stage of education, the present climate in which we are not clear about the medium of instruction at different stages in causing concern to the parents, to the pupils, and weakening the country in the process. This is a major problem at this stage of the development of the country. Then, Mr. Vice Chairman, I would pass on to the Ministry of Transport and Communications. According to this ministry, we are to build a system of national highways, provincial or state highways, an integrated system of communications from the village upwards, but the central government is concerned with the construction of national highways. It is good to have a fine system of national highways. It is also serves as a physical link for integrating the nation. It is good, but this planning of construction of national highways without regard to the development of railways and the development of industries in the regions in which the highways are proposed to be constructed will be something beyond our means at the present moment. Assuming that we have a network of national highways, they to be put to immediate use, are they good investments? Unless you have industries, small, big or medium, coming along the highways, unless they assure you a fair return for the investment, it is not desirable to have a system of highways for the sake of mere transport of passengers. In other words, we should have a scheme of priorities for the national highways so that they can be looked after. Stop.